Okay, we've got the dust washers in place, and we've got the artwork sitting back on top of the wood part of the control panel on the plywood, and the post, the threaded posts that come off of the artwork are extended down through the wood. But before we start putting the taps on the back, we want to make sure these dust washers don't move out of place, because they can slip behind the artwork. You start tightening them down and they'll be stuck down in there. But I think an easy way to do it is just to take the HAPP joysticks, put them down through the holes and extend them through the back, because they'll go all the way down up to this part through the diameter of that opening in the dust washer. And once you extend that far in there, there's enough weight over there to kind of counter, and they'll hold down like that, and you can hold the control panel up and start putting the taps on the back, and it'll hold the dust washers in place so they don't slide down in there. And I'll show you what I mean in just a second. We've got these in place. The dust washers are being held in place by the joystick shafts, and when you lean it up, you can go all the way vertical. And since they extend down the back and they've got enough weight to kind of balance them inside the dust washers, it'll hold it in place so that you can put the taps on each one of these screw posts here. And that's what I'm going to go ahead and do now off camera. I'll put all the taps on, tighten it down. We'll have the dust washers in place, and all the taps will be on, and we'll be ready to set the control panel back on top of the control panel box. Okay, I've got the control panel back up in place. What I did is I went ahead and put one tap in up here and two down here to hold down this bracket that keeps the piece of plywood for your control panel in place here when you're working on the machine. And that way it holds it up here, you know, so you can stand up at eye level and you don't have to crouch down on the ground. You can go ahead and put all these other taps on these posts that come down through your control panel while it's up here in place. So there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 more. But this way we've got a little bit of support up here and down here to keep this sandwich together. And your joysticks are sticking through, like I said, and they're holding the dust washers in place. And that keeps those from falling down in there in case this is not real good and tight. But these are torqued down pretty good. You don't want to tighten them too much. If you do, it'll probably, you know, dent in the top of the aluminum for your artwork. And you don't want to do that. It'd be probably pretty obvious once you've done it, the way light hits it and all. So just tighten it down a little snug once you feel it, you know, starting to get a little tension on it. Don't go too much past that, because there's plenty holding it on. It's not going to have that much, you know, that much force trying to pull this off or anything like that. But I'm going to go ahead and put the other ones on here. I'll do a few of them on camera, I guess. Won't take but a few seconds. Go ahead and get them started. Whoops. I put my brackets on this one. And you want to make sure on each side, like this bracket, when it goes on, it needs to be like that, so that it can, when it goes down in position, it can be clamped in, excuse me, I'm backwards, like that, so it can be locked into this clip. So like one there, they're identical, it doesn't matter which one you use. And you can put your taps on those. And while you're doing this, you can put a little pressure down on the side where the artwork is, just to make sure that those posts are all the way down. It'll pull them down when you tighten them with a wrench or the socket, but probably best to push it down so there's not much air or anything in there. And then you go ahead and finish off with a socket. These take a 11/32 socket. I'm sure there's something metric that'll fit it too, but that's what I've got available. As soon as you feel them snug down, I wouldn't turn much more than about a quarter turn or so. getting kind of loose. Finally. It should be pretty much all of them snugged down. Okay, now we're going to install the bases for each one of your joysticks. Here's one of your bases for the HAPP Competition joysticks, and at this moment we need a couple more parts. We need this plastic bushing. I think on the HAPP sheet it calls it a pivot cylinder is what they call it, but it has to go on the joystick shaft before you put this base in place. And just make sure that if you have it set up like I do now, that you do that, because if you start assembling this and it's not in there, you're going to have to take it back apart. And you've got the 4 bolts to mount this up to the bottom side of the wood control panel. These were probably already on your control panel. If you're doing a replacement like me, this held the old joysticks in. These don't come with the joysticks from HAPP. But anyway, put your bushing on, and then you can put your base on. There's 2 ways. You could mount this just about any way, because the only thing that really orients the joystick is the way you hook up your switches and all. If you were pressing up on the joystick, it's going to mash down this switch, and that's got to be hooked up to the proper wiring to tell it that you want your character or your ship or whatever it is to move up, you know, or to jump. And just depending on which way you orient it, you just have to make sure that the correct wirings are hooked to the correct switch, you know, to go left, right, up, down, whatever you want. So that's just all when you connect the wires. So as far as this base is concerned, it can mount any way, just has to be able to line up with your screws. And since this is rectangular, and this is a rectangular configuration, you can't mount it that way, obviously, because the screw holes won't line up. So just put it on properly, press the joystick down through the base, and once it bottoms out, you can adjust this sleeve later. You would push up on it once you put the actuator on, and you push it up far enough so that you can see a groove on the bottom of the metal shaft from the joystick, and then the clip would slide on. But we're just going to put these temporary in place and do that on each one of them, and then I'll come back in, bolt them on, and we'll continue.